Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 6 Degrees of Associations. We are excited once again to have another referral guest on today, Tony Rossell. Did I get that right?
You sure did.
Okay. Perfect. I nailed it. Senior Vice President of Marketing General is here with us today. A referral, we believe, I'm right on this, Dean West. I know you guys have worked together on projects before and know each other well. And we were super excited. We had a great conversation before we got to get on air today about the work of Marketing General. And something that sprung up was that we just happened to be filming this right when the latest membership marketing benchmarking report has come out. And I think you've also just now published a book as well about membership marketing. And I'm curious if you could just tell us a little bit about Marketing General and those publications that have just come out.
Sure, Aaron. And it's wonderful to be with you guys. And I've enjoyed watching some of your previous shows. So thanks for the time today.
Thank you.
Just real quick, Marketing General is a marketing agency. We work with associations, primarily help them get and keep members. I've been there for 3 decades now, so it's been a lot of fun. And what I tried to do is I've hopefully learned a lot over those 3 decades, and I spent the last year putting a lot of that knowledge into a book. So it's called Membership Recruitment, and it's available on Amazon. And so far, people seem to appreciate it and like it. But a big topic that I think a lot of your viewers would probably be interested in is this is the 13th year we've published our annual membership marketing benchmarking report. So what we do is we go out to thousands of associations and gather data from them on how membership is doing. Is membership growing? Is it going down? How are you engaging members? How are you renewing members? And so that report is just out now. We had close to 900 associations tell us all their information this year. And some really substantial data, and that's available from our website. It's an 80-page report. So I'd love to chat a little bit about that today and give some people some of the highlights of what we've seen this last year.
Yeah, the benchmarking report is the gold standard in the industry. I watch it every year, and I'm curious to learn from your perspective, because everybody reading it on their own, looks for different aspects of it, depending on your area of expertise in the industry. What did you find this year, Tony, that sort of jumped out at you?
So this year was probably for me going to be one of the most interesting years, because we've all been aware of the situation associations have faced with COVID. It's been a very, very challenging year. Mm-hmm. So this year, what we found is only about 26% of associations said their membership had grown. That is the lowest number in the last 13 years. It's comparable with the outcome from the 2008-2009 recession. So there's discouraging news. Renewal rates are down also. I always look for points of light. I always look and say, okay, that's the bad news. Is there good news in this? And we did see some good news. A number of things jumped out at me this year. Number one is 78% of associations said that they've added new products and services this last year to deal with the COVID situation and to help members. And so people are actively going out and saying, okay, how do we solve this problem? How do we get content to members? How do we provide new products and services that really help members? And so that's an encouraging piece. The second thing is that of those members that stayed, we saw a big jump in engagement. So members were turning to their association for help. They're turning to the association for advocacy. They're turning to the association for community. They're turning to the association for career services. They were looking for critical information. When we saw some of our clients were getting tens of thousands of attendees at webinars, for instance, on how do I deal with this situation? How do I help my patients? How do I help my clients? How do I help my the people in my industry? So there were points of light. Here's one of the interesting thing, Lucas, I'll mention. I don't want to take up all the time on this one question, but
that's a good one.
One of the things we found over the years is after a disruption like we saw after 2008, 2009, where membership declined, we saw the next 5 years were some of the biggest growth years for associations that we've seen. And early data looks like that associations are strongly coming out of this situation, the pandemic and recession, and starting to see members come back. Yeah. And I think a lot of that is because some of the decline was what I call panic lapsers. Companies and individuals were leaving because they're holding on to cash flow. They're worried about their jobs, et cetera. And so they weren't leaving because of lack of value. They're leaving because of conserving cash. As cash is available, we're seeing a nice rebound. And I think we'll see that in our next report. There's a very strong rebound in membership.
Yeah. Well, now that you all have been doing it for, we'd say 13 years, right? You have the luxury of looking at this in a macro sense. So we have some historical data to look at now. We can really go back, and I appreciate the shining light, as you said, of let's go back and look at that 08, 09 era and really see where we're going. Because everybody, we're in the storm, right? We're just getting out of it. But the benchmarking report is really giving us some valuable insights as to that next 5 years, as you talked about, which is great. It's always the challenge with data. When you start collecting data, it can tell you one story, but as it starts to broaden and you look at the bigger picture, it was really telling you maybe a different story.
You're absolutely right. I mean, if you looked at just this year's data, you'd hear the narrative that you hear sometimes that membership doesn't work anymore.
Right.
And we know it does work, and history shows that.
I was going to ask that question because we've interviewed someone before. It might have even been Dean, but we were talking about the fact that a lot of associations do look at their choices of revenue generation as very binary, membership versus not membership. Mm-hmm. And so I'm interested, like when you're looking at some of those trends, how are you seeing, is it beneficial for organizations to be thinking we can have certain things that are available to non-members and really cordoning off the membership? I mean, you see this in analog situations, let's say with Patreon and podcasting, for instance, or Apple starting to require subscriptions if you want to get more out of the different podcasts you're listening to. How have you been seeing that analog trend play out in association world?
Boy, that's a great question. You know, the theme of the book I wrote is membership recruitment. And the basic theme I'm making is that is the essential lever. Getting new members into the funnel is the essential lever for really financial health and for growth for the association. Obviously retention is important, engagement is important, but we see in our benchmarking this clear correlation between groups that are adding members and growing their new member counts and total growth. Some additional data I talk about in the book is we did a data analytics study for one organization. What we found is that they were running about a 75% renewal rate on members. They were running a 7% renewal rate on customers. So only 7% of the customers came back year over year.
Yeah.
It's really hard to backfill 93% of your customers every single year because customer acquisition is the most expensive thing you do. So I still believe, and I think the data supports that membership provides the best customers. Whenever we do data analytics, members buy more than anybody else. Members provide the volunteers. Members provide the content in many cases. They support the advocacy. So in my mind, any organization that sort of says, let's focus on products or services and not on membership is really missing the boat for some big opportunities.
Yeah. So why recruitment? Why is it so hard? Why the focus of the book?
Yeah. Well, it is hard. And I run across two big impediments for recruitment that as I talk to different associations, and we work with about 40 different groups currently. Number one is there's paralysis of analysis. I think there's huge opportunities out there, but everyone's saying, well, is my IT in line? What about the bylaws? Maybe someone won't like my message, et cetera, et cetera. And so you don't get things done. And we really advocate a ready, fire, aim approach. Get something out there. Let's see if it works. See if people will join. I think there's a lot of folks sitting in the database. There's a treasure trove of opportunity there. And a lot of groups I don't think are fully optimizing that. The second thing that's really interesting, Lucas, is a lot of times organizations and boards will set a goal. I want to have 25,000 members by the year 2025.
Right.
Nice goal. But you've got to fund that. You've got to provide the resources. You've got to provide the staffing. You've got to provide the expertise. So having an aspirational goal, but not putting anything behind it, I see that oftentimes. I talked to a group today that wants to grow, but they don't have no budget. Well, you have to fund marketing. It can't be, it's if you build it, they will not come.
Yeah. And we've made the argument or suggestion, I'll say, in previous episodes that the execution and the marketing is the second piece, actually. And the first piece is the strategy, and bringing in the right team to talk about how you're going to do it is one thing. And then actually might not be the same team, but then there's the execution, which is just
You're
impact.
absolutely right. Yeah, it's a good point. There's opportunity out there, and I think that especially this year, if I were going to pick a year to invest in growing my membership, this would probably be the year to do it,
Yeah.
because I think there was after disruption, people realized they need a network, they need community, they
Right.
need resources, they need career services, and I think there's a huge opportunity for associations now.
I think one of the things I'm picking up on, and just having seen it recently, just in industries at large, we're hearing about labor shortages and things. And so words that are being used, so membership recruitment, sounds a lot like, employee recruitment. But employee recruiters have even changed to talent acquisition. Sounds a lot like customer acquisition. And for associations, you think of members as your customers. But at the same time, is there a reason why, and maybe this comes out in your book, why associations should even view members as recruitment in the traditional sense of looking, across the way and saying, how do HR professionals do it? How do they recruit employees to want to come and stick with the brand? Because it costs just as much to turn over an employee as it does a member. So I'm just curious if you've ever drawn those parallels, and if there was a reason you specifically called it out as recruitment versus customer acquisition or something like that.
Yeah, the recruitment is a term that I think people are comfortable with. So I do use that term. I'm a big believer in not reinventing the wheel, and looking at best practices, whatever industry it is and whatever field it is, and giving them a try. So I think part of the point of the book is over 30 years, I've seen some successes and I've seen some failures, and I try to share those and say, look, this works, this doesn't work. Let me give you an example. You get a lot of pushback from associations on offering an incentive for someone to join. Mm-hmm. They say, oh, you're not going to get a quality member if you offer a discount or free months or a free trial or whatever. And yet, if you look at any industry, there's sales, there's Prime Day, there's all sorts of different ways. Companies don't do that because they like giving money away. They do that because there's ROI. They're building their customer base, they're generating sales. And so that's a best practice in my mind, is someone can join any association 24/7. The website's there. They can go there, they can join. But how do you get them to join now? And offering some kind of an incentive is a key opportunity and a key piece for that. So it's, again, Aaron, it's a good point. Looking at what's working, whether it's for-profits, whether it's other nonprofits, what's working, and extracting the good things from that and giving it a try in your association.
Yeah. Sort of bridging the gap again, we'll just keep playing with this metaphor of customers or versus members. How much does brand factor into that for an association? It's probably a longer term play than a transactional incentive, but how often do you see we need to take the long road here and start building out the brand?
Yeah, that's interesting. One of the things that I talk about in the book is the membership life cycle. And basically it's 5 stages of life cycle. It's awareness, recruitment, engagement, renewal, and reinstatement. So first one is awareness. That's share of mind, which is that brand. We really advocate a concept of combination. When we talk about awareness, we're looking at both having share of mind and share of database. So in an ideal world for an association, they would be getting people to understand their brand, that they deliver value and they provide good services, but also getting those people through content marketing or other means into the database so that you can start a conversation, you can start engaging with people. So I think it's a dual side there for associations. Associations are not Coca-Cola with stuff in stores. They've got to have an interaction and have that mutual awareness of share of mind and share of database.
Yeah, well said. We had some conversations previously also where they've gone back to sort of the physical handhold action of recruitment, even picking up the phone and talking with that. Do you think that makes a comeback, or do we continue this drive towards all digital engagement? Yeah,
it's funny how the old can be new sometimes. We do telemarketing for a lot of different organizations. This last year was the best year for telemarketing and calling ever, because people had their phones forwarded to their homes. So there was no gatekeeper preventing your call from getting through. Mm-hmm. So yeah, a phone call, whether it's a staff member or whether it's a paid solicitor, phone still works. Direct mail still works if it's properly done. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously with people not in offices, if your members were in offices, it was a challenge. As they get back to offices, there's opportunity there. But the traditional media still work, and we really recommend what we call an omni-channel approach. If you're just totally reliant on email and pummeling your database with email day after day, you're not going to grow. You're going to ultimately get a lot of unsubscribes and people not even opening it. So using the full channels of direct mail, of phone, of digital, of email, of texting, that's what's working nowadays, is that omni-channel approach.
Yeah, I just talking about over messaging people via email starts to conjure up, feelings of people that are not positive. So we still utilize outbound calling, and it's probably the most expensive form of marketing that one can do, but still the most effective, we found.
Yeah, every market is a pyramid. And so your very, very best people are at the top of the pyramid, and you work your way down. So you use the more expensive channels at that top of the pyramid, and then you can reach other people, through other means. They're less expensive, who are less qualified to become a member.
Yeah, utilizing the other channels to determine who are the best targets is the best practice.
Yeah, excellent point.
Yeah, I love it. Well, we don't want to spoil too many surprises for the upcoming benchmark report coming out, and we've taken quite a bit of your time thus far. I know, Lucas, you have a new question that we've been asking everyone, so I'll let you ask that question first before I sort of pull out the hook here and close out our session. So I'm going to turn it back to you, Lucas, but thank you, Tony, for all of those insights.
Sure.
Really interesting.
Yes, so we've started incorporating this last portion of our episode, Tony, and it's sort of I'm calling it the where you work. And what is the plan for Marketing General specifically? Are you back in the office? Are you going totally virtual? Somewhere in between? What's it looking like for you guys?
So we are going to make it completely optional. We are going to allow people to work from home, and we do have staff all across the country. We have people in Washington State and Missouri and New York and all different places. So we're gonna make it completely optional for people to come in or not come in, partial days or full days. But that's our approach right now.
That's great. I mean, there's really no wrong answer in that regard. I've seen everybody do every which way and be successful. So I'm not sure that that's really a key element for many businesses in order to really execute and be successful. We're just curious. I think it's good to share with our audience and understand that it's all over the spectrum.
Yeah. Which I think, that probably goes to, on some level, membership recruitment, and such as that when the offices were so centralized that you maybe weren't able to get deeper into some of the markets that you needed to penetrate. And so perhaps a lot of organizations spreading out their talent across the country through this mobility sort of option may help them gain some interpersonal connections in the actual markets they're trying to get to.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap this up then. We always ask the same question at the end of every episode, Tony, and we really can't wait to hear from you on what you think. Who is someone in the industry that our audience could really benefit from hearing from next? Thanks
for the question. One of the people I respect very much is a lady named Joy Davis. She works for the American Association of Pharmaceutical Scientists. And one of the things she's written about lately is the concept of there's the new normal, that we're not going to go back to what we were before. Mm-hmm. There's a new normal that we need to be prepared for. And so I think your viewers would really enjoy hearing from her and getting her insight on how that organization has radically adapted and adjusted to the current situation and their vision for the future. Oh, great. Well, Joy, we're coming for you. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. I always say that. It sounds nefarious, but no, we want you to come join us. Here we come. But Tony, thank you so much for giving so much of your time to us. And we will be sure to provide our audience links to the benchmarking reports. They know where to find you, as well as the book, Membership Recruitment. Do I have the name of the book right? Great. But we really appreciate it. Okay, great. Well, so many different insights and such great experience you've had. So thank you so much for sharing all of your thoughts.